A few months ago, while taking a walk down 4th Street, I came to a stop sign. I've seen that sign more times than I can count. It's nothing special, just think of any stop sign you've ever seen. That day, something was different though. A sticker planted on the center of the sign told me, "Be happy." Easy to say, hard to emulate. I smiled. How many people did the same? How many days were changed? How did the sticker influence beliefs, emotions, and ideas? Hi, my name is Andrew Lee, and today I want to discuss the radical power of art. I want to define three terms. Art is communicated expression. Radicality is the disruption of or the departure from the status quo. Change is when disruption materializes and new ideas, systems, and approaches replace existing ones. Art is radical when it disrupts the status quo, the norms that define social structures, power relationships, hierarchies, borders, racial biases, systemic inequalities, truly any element of our collective existence that we have come to know and accept. Art disrupts the status quo when the contained ideas, images, and materials challenge our preconceived notions about their real world corollaries. An idealized vision of the future may compel us towards change through our desire to materialize what we have seen and imagined. In Diego Rivera's 1940 Pan American Unity, Rivera paints a large mural depicting the hopeful unification of Mexico and the United States. His vision on cultural solidarity and peace gives us a future to long for. An artist can alter spaces that were once settings of abuse and trauma, redefining what that space can be for the afflicted. In Stop Telling Women to Smile, Tatiana Fazlalezadeh speaks on the harassment of women in public spaces by painting on the walls of alleyways and public streets. She transforms places in which women are degraded into places that boldly showcase her provocative, poignant artistry in a way that affirms and even protects the women that occupy them. She reclaims public areas universal around the world that are often sites of harassment for women and turns them into safer spaces. Art can also completely dismantle our belief systems through shocking, sometimes even violent images and themes. For example, in Banksy's Napalm, a young girl cries in agony as her flesh burns, a beaming Mickey Mouse and Ronald McDonald holding her hands on each side. The piece compels Banksy's audience to reflect on the extractive nature of American globalization, in which civilian casualties are exchanged for profit by way of inhumane labor practices and outright violence. The expansion of capitalism and corporate industry leaves little room for humanity, forcing children in impoverished nations to uphold the wealth of industries in the Western Hemisphere. Radical art, like the works just discussed, has the potential to produce social change. It only takes a single image or form for someone to pause and reflect. And if that moment of reflection is shared with multiple people within a community, change can occur. In the early months of 2020, George Floyd's murder catalyzed a social revolution. The closed fist, reemerging from the Black Power movement of the 60s and onward, became a unifying global symbol for today's Black Lives Matter movement. Symbols are a ubiquitous category of artwork. They convey concepts and unite people, communicating ideas across language barriers. Symbols can represent goals for organizations and social movements, disseminated through pamphlets, social media posts, videos, murals, t-shirts, posters, and pictures. The fist has had an unprecedented impact on our collective social consciousness. The fist, a visual symbol, demonstrates the power of radical art to its fullest capacity, reigniting necessary discussions on equity, justice, and solidarity amongst the marginalized, and giving people across the world a universal language in which to signal to and support each other. No movement in history has had such significant results, with art unifying the masses. While the movement did lead to new pieces of legislation that have since aided Black communities, the success of a social movement is not defined exclusively by its impact on the government. Changing social consciousness should be seen as the end goal. The law can only go so far, while fostering human empathy can drastically transform intercultural relationships and the structures upon which our society is built. Art's power to create social change can also be seen in the work of Keith Haring. Herring's art often serves as a social commentary for the issues that affected his home of New York, from depicting the city's widespread addiction to narcotics to spreading awareness about the AIDS epidemic. Herring's bold style comes with his bold advocacy. His work is immediately recognizable and is often printed on shirts, tote bags, posters, and other accessories. This constant display of his art serves as a reminder for people to adopt the healthy lifestyle that his work advocates for. Herring's artistry opens up a discussion on commodification. The commodification of art has the ability to make an artist's work more ubiquitous. Museums and galleries tend to attract a certain demographic. It's difficult to find a reputable gallery in suburban, pastoral, or low-income communities. Commodification then pushes past these spaces and allows the work to adopt a certain universality. Through commodified reproduction, the work's exhibition space expands beyond the white walls of the gallery setting, and the artwork, ideally carrying its messages with it, enters everyday social consciousness. Commodification can potentially dilute the original intent of a piece. It may be that the artist never wished for their work, which took hours of labor and thought, to be printed on apparel. However, when people are repeatedly exposed to the same visual motifs, curiosity is piqued. A work's expression of joy, anger, or anything in between may or may not equate to the audience's reaction to that piece. Emotional reactions to art often reflect the radical nature of the work, regardless of whether those reactions are positive or negative. Anger as a response to artwork can be positive in its own way and can also indicate the work's effectiveness as a radical statement. Anger in response to a work is immediately beneficial when it grounds people and motivates them to unify and tackle a challenge. Even when anger takes the opposite direction, however, it ignites hateful rhetoric. Such a reaction helps us distinguish the piece's ability to disrupt the status quo. Individuals and communities cling on to the standards and norms that they have been accustomed to. An audience will inevitably be frustrated by work that suddenly challenges these ideas. Joyful art is equally radical. Joyful art disrupts the status quo by encouraging us to reflect positively on relationships with ourselves, others, and the world. Through works that invite us to stop and reflect, we gain a deeper appreciation for the simplicities and complexities of human life that make it beautiful. Think back to the smile sticker I mentioned at the start. Evidently, the sticker does not have the wide-reaching influence of the BLM fist or Diego Rivera's Pan-American Unity. But that single work may have inspired an individual to live with a little more hope. Radical art is necessary because it makes us more human. The pieces we have discussed so far convey a broad range of emotions. A work's expression of emotions and the emotions of the audience are important in understanding the radical nature and potential of art. By introducing audiences to feelings they may have been scared to acknowledge or have taken for granted, and by simply showing the spectrum in a way we fail to appreciate in everyday life, art expands our consciousness. Exposing us to ideas we may not have acknowledged prior to seeing an image is one important way that art compels us to expand our minds, to appreciate things we don't understand or don't think about. This dynamic is a crucial part of art's capacity to represent. Representation gives people a sense of belonging in spaces where their voices, history, and existence have all been previously denied. By allowing and encouraging us to see others, art attempts to transform the routines of our lives, which are defined by community and celerity, or our tendency to pay almost exclusive attention to the things and people that are the most similar to us and how we feel. In this way, art is radical as it inherently expands our ability to perceive and consider things we do not necessarily know or understand. And this is empathy.